Tell us about the time Swami made circles around you.
My third trip to see Swami. Now, the first two trips, I was very happy just to be there, to be in the presence of the Lord. And as with you who are viewing this, most of you love Swami, and you know that feeling. You can't get enough. And so I couldn't get enough, but I was just fine with Darshan, just being there. But the third trip, I wanted an interview, in all honesty. I wanted to be able to speak to Swami in a private setting, though I had spoken to him in the Darshan lines and answered questions and so forth. But there's something about if you have the opportunity to be with him personally in an intimate setting. And so this was in my mind, and Swami knows the thoughts of everyone there. So now each of my trips were around 6 weeks. Well, into about the fourth week, fifth week, the latter part of the fourth week, we were at Whitefield. And there's, Swami gives Darshan twice a day sometimes, but sometimes only once a day. Back then, it was mainly twice a day. So we're sitting there one day, I'm about 5 weeks into the trip, and Swami does something unusual. He comes to within maybe 4 or 5 people of me down the Darshan line. And at Whitefield back in those days, you could get a front row seat pretty easy. All you had to do was be there a little early. And so I was constantly, having a front row seat, or at least a second row seat. So Swami comes along the Darshan line and gets within about 4 people of me, and he makes this circle, and he circles around the Darshan line, away from it, and then he comes back into the Darshan line about 4 people beyond me. And I'm thinking the first time it happened, this is very interesting. I was assuming he was avoiding someone close to me. Well, the next Darshan, the same thing happens. Different people on different sides of me. So this time I was becoming aware it was me that he was singling out. And so the next Darshan, same thing. And of course, by then I'm thinking, well, what's wrong with me? Why am I, undergoing this process? And so I started meditating more, praying more, reading more of his teachings. Next Darshan, the same thing. Well, this is interesting because people notice what's happening around Swami. And so they said, this guy you do not want to be close to because he's not going to come near this guy. So if you want attention from Swami, you need to be somewhere else. So people would leave a gap on each side of me, not wanting to be close to me. So this is even more a singling out process. Well, then what happened, people who arrived late, having no place to sit, they would see these spots on each side of me on the front line or second line, and they would come up and sit beside me. Well, then what Swami did, he came up, and this time he got right next to me, and he pointed to the guy on the right of me, said, you go for an interview. And he pointed to the guy to the left of me, you go for an interview. Leaving me in no man's land, feeling very confused and not knowing what is going on. And he actually did this twice. So now everybody wants to sit next to me. So, of course, he didn't do that but a couple of times, but he did do that 2 times, invited people on each side of me in for an interview. So I'm at my last, next to the last darshan. And now Swami has gone back to circling again. 4 people or 3 people or whatever. And so it's next to the last darshan I'm going to have. And so I'm praying to Swami. Swami, I don't know. I don't know what's wrong. Please help me. At least just look at me, because I've got to go back to the United States and I have nothing. You know, I can't go back like this. Please help me. So at least just look at me. That's all I'm asking. And so I'm thinking, interview is definitely out of the question. But please just look at me. So Swami comes and he's looking at everybody down the darshan line. And he gets to me and he looks down and he walks away. And that crushed me. I'm thinking, you know, life isn't even worth living. You know, the Lord is, for whatever reason, not happy with you. What can possibly be wrong? And so he goes, and just as he's down the darshan line, I want to say 10 or 12 people, into my mind, as clear as a bell ringing in silence, a voice said, I looked into your heart and I was not there. Then I understood. I had an intellectual relationship with Swami. It wasn't heart to heart. So that night, I just visualized Swami in my heart. I only slept maybe an hour. I go to Darshan the next day. Swami comes over, blesses me, and into my mind, not like the other, but into my mind came this thought, or his voice. Now you have the right idea. Go home and work on it. I had wanted to bring something home to my wife, and I had a blue bead japamala made. And I wanted Swami to bless that. And so that last day I had it with me. And so when he did come over to me, I offered that which he blessed. And then he blessed me on my head. And then that's when the voice came.